What Shirley MacLaine said about dance had every single one of us in the room in tears, no joke. And Baryshnikov, what he said in his speech, who he dedicated his award to, was very, very profound. Today, I'm talking about my experience at the very first ever Dance Hall of Fame, the inaugural gala. And somehow I got lucky enough to be in the room. I'm going to tell you whatever my memory can recollect about the event, share some pictures and videos too. Now, if you're new here, my name is Miller DeRay, and this is my podcast, Hey Dancer. If you love dance and you want to keep these stories reaching more people, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or following anywhere else you might get your podcast. Now, before I get into the gala, I want to share something that kind of ties all this together. Recently, I got a comment asking if my Return to Dance docuseries was ever coming back. And that meant a lot because that series is actually the most personal thing I've ever made, to be honest. And it exists because after 3 decades away from dance, I was a dancer when I was a teenager professionally, if you did not know, and I made the decision to return to dance, and I filmed every part of that journey. And I'm still filming all the parts of the journey, but the audience, you guys, you're stuck somewhere still in mid-2023. That was my last Return to Dance docuseries episode, kind of at the beginning of my healing process. And you guys haven't seen the last 2.5 years of what has come next, the doctors, the treatments, the rehabs, everything I fought through. And now that I'm finally back in real world dance classes again, literally I've taken 2 so far, which is just, oh my gosh, no words. It's just so exciting. I mean, I'm moving my body again. I'm able to. Going on early morning hikes and whatnot, it's just a big deal. There is no more gratitude one can have than knowing what it's like to not be able to move your body the way that you want to, like not even going on simple walks. And then all of a sudden, you're back in dance class and you can do stuff. It's very, very exciting. It's thrilling. My point is, there's a lot to update you on. That series matters to me, you know, on a soul level. It's why I'm doing all the things I'm doing when it comes to dance. And I want people to catch up with where I actually am now. At the same time, when this podcast launched, it was meant to be a twice weekly show. So this is now independent of my Return to Dance docuseries. I went out the gate like big, you know, like a little bit daunting maybe, but like with major expectations of myself. And that is 2 episodes weekly. I mean, for a podcaster who's doing everything, all the things on my own, you know, I'm a one-man team, as I say. So we had the rest of the story. And then also another weekly episode about really everything else dance related, whether it was my own journey in dance, tips and tricks when it comes to dance class, training, how dance class has evolved, dance science, how to find more time for dance, just all things dance. But then the rest of the story took off on YouTube, especially in those episodes. Because of all the traction, I thought they had to be deeper and longer and more research heavy. And it turned into a legit full-time job, which is not a complaint. It's just a description. And I'm incredibly proud of what I've done. The fact that these stories are resonating with so many, like, really does keep me going. It makes me feel like I have found, in many ways, my other purpose. Like my purpose, my main purpose is my return to dance journey and me as a dancer and what I can do to inspire others through my own dancing. But now I very much know that these biographies weekly is 100% another part of my purpose. So I guess my point in saying all that is, yes, I want to bring back my docuseries, and yes, I want to return to twice weekly podcasts. And this episode right here is one such example of another, you know, podcast episode that is about one of my experiences in the dance world. Now, a lot of people have asked at different times how they can support the show in some capacity. So for the first time, I'm actually going to add a link. And absolutely no pressure, but if you ever feel like supporting the work, it genuinely helps. It helps me keep creating at this level and providing value, and I want it to keep on going, and that's all I'll say about that. Now, let's talk about the Dance Hall of Fame. This is my program. Is it inverted? If it is, I'll just flip the video, but yeah, wow, what a night. First off, what even is the Dance Hall of Fame? Because this was its first year ever, which, if you think about that, is nuts. The Dance Hall of Fame was created by Anita Mann, a dancer who has actually been on my list to cover for some time with her very own episode of The Rest of the Story, and I will for sure eventually. Oh my God, that list gets longer and longer. She was a major working dancer back in the day, and her career graduated to really touching every corner of the industry. She's been recognized by the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences as one of America's top choreographers. She's worked with everybody from Elvis to Lucille Ball to Michael Jackson. She's produced shows for decades. And now back in 2019, she started talking with a team of people who had been preserving incredible dance and choreography archives. And the idea of a Hall of Fame for dancers came up, but the pandemic, put everything on hold. And instead of letting it die, Anita made it her legacy project. I mean, how amazing is that? Something that would finally honor the way dance has shaped culture. And so on December 3rd, 2025, at the Glorya Kaufman Performing Arts Center in Los Angeles, the very first Dance Hall of Fame ceremony finally happened. The inaugural inductees are dancers and creators, choreographers who changed the art form at its foundation. Their names really are almost myth-like, just true cultural figures. I mean, we got Martha Graham, Gene Kelly, Jerome Robbins, Bob Fosse, Alvin Ailey, Twyla Tharp, Mikhail Baryshnikov, Kenny Ortega, Stephen Twitch, Boss, and Misty Copeland, and the Lifetime Achievement Award to Shirley MacLaine. So, let me take you into my experience, into my night. First of all, I got a good parking spot. In LA, that's a big deal. I thought I might spend, 45 minutes looking for parking. They actually recommended to take an Uber, but I got there in plenty of time. All right, I'm here for the first ever Hall of Fame for dance. What? I'm so excited. I'm so honored to be included, to be invited, to be here. And there's a lovely parallel with my own dance series on Legends. So it feels super extra important to be here for this inaugural event. All right, walking up the stairs here. Ooh, it's like a nice fancy thing. And already I'm seeing like a massive long line. Then I see this sort of outside patio area. And then in the inside, massive pane glass windows and red carpet and photographers. We go into the whole red carpet area. And I kid you not, Baryshnikov was right there. He was next to me. And it was just he and I walking side by side. What? It was out of body. Now I walk into the theater, and the first person I see in the theater is Toni Basil. What? What? So I see her. She's like way down. Somehow my eye just went right to her, and she's surrounded by people. And I have an episode on her too. Now, I know that she technically knows who I am. She shared my podcast. The podcast that I did on her, she literally took verbatim. I mean, didn't edit a thing, took it from my channel and put it on her own YouTube channel, my podcast. So that is how, I guess you might say, look, I mean, that's certainly proof that whatever I did, she found to be credible and worthy enough to go on her own channel. So I just felt very proud of that. So clearly I could have spoken to her. A lot of people who might be more outgoing would have found their way to her, but I'm one of those people where it just really has to feel right. And I'll give you some examples later when it did feel right. And I did just walk up to people because I have no problem doing that, but also it has to be about timing. And so you have to understand, I walked in, the gentleman is escorting me and he's like, you're going to be up there, row M15. I'm like, okay, 15, M15. So I go up to M15, but there's people in the seats. So, okay. So then I come back down to find that guy again, and I do. And this woman came to him at the same time I did, and she was like, I'm so sorry, but there are people in my seats. It was very chaotic. God bless them. They probably had the first inaugural event, a lot to, take care of. And things were not as perhaps efficient as they may have liked, although everybody there was exceedingly kind and really wanted to help. So long story short, or maybe short story long, I was then taken back out to the very, very front to then figure out my seat again. And then I'll just keep this short. Somehow I wind up in the first row. I was in the first row. When I tell you, you see this microphone right here? That's where the stage was. I was like here. That's how close I was to the stage. I was like watching everybody, like they were like in my face. It was incredible. It was amazing. So I remember that it started with Baryshnikov. He came out first and he had his speech written, and he was very deliberate and methodical in the way that he spoke. He was sort of serious.
And to committee who thought I deserved.
He basically said that he owes, in many ways, his dance life because he remembers as a boy going to the movies and one dancer really affected him. And he couldn't believe the way this person moved. He was just a little boy, watching this dancer on the screen. It was as if he was floating on the screen. And this dancer really, truly inspired him and inspired generations. And he thinks he's the best dancer of all time. And he even admitted to saying that he was disappointed that this person wasn't included in this inaugural class. And he dedicated this award to this dancer. And who was that? Fred Astaire.
There's a name missing from the illustrious list of honorees this evening. The man, of course, was Fred Astaire.
And it was a very beautiful speech, and it felt very profound. And he definitely had a thing to say, and he said it. And there was a lot of, applause, and it was very, very meaningful. So there were a lot of performances happening in between the winners. Okay, so for example, Dialyse Croman, who's a major Fosse dancer, and BB Newworth, they came out to introduce Fosse. And it was just a beautiful speech. It was just really cool just to hear about his story. He's on my list too. And then two dancers came out. As soon as it started, I knew immediately, because of all this work I'm doing on the rest of the story, that it was Bob Fosse's piece from Kiss Me Kate, the movie that really introduced his choreography to the world, that he did a duet with Carol Haney. And the movie was choreographed by Hermes Pan, but Hermes let Fosse choreograph his own number. It was his first, again, choreographic piece on film. And that's what led to the Pajama Game. And so I'm watching it. And now that number has been in numerous episodes of my podcast. It was in my Carol Haney episode. I think it was in my Joe McCracken episode. It was in my Hermes Pan episode. So I feel as if I know this number really well and the history behind it. So watching these dancers do a beautiful job of recreating the same dance, the choreography, Bob Fosse, Carol Haney, it was just so special, and it meant so much more to me because I know the history. And that's, again, one of the gifts of my weekly series on the rest of the story. When you know the history of something, not just oh, this is a Bob Fosse number, but I knew the history, and it's that much more impactful. History, it's important. Bob Fosse, his grandson Noah Fosse, accepted the award. Oh, I wanted to say this too, I almost forgot. So Noah Fosse is giving, this beautiful acceptance speech and talking about, Fosse's life. And then he mentioned the people who mattered most to Fosse, and that shaped his life. And he's naming these people, and you can see the way he's doing it. He's kind of saving the best for last as far as, his creative life. And then he mentions Gwen Verdon, which, of course, she's the best of the best, and everybody's, applauding, and it's amazing. But the entire time he was talking, I was thinking, say Joan McCracken, say Joan McCracken, please say Joan McCracken. But he did not say Joan McCracken. And I have to tell you, after doing so much research on her, and I have an episode on her, and knowing that Gwen Verdon herself and Bob Fosse himself, they've acknowledged that Joan was the catalyst, the most important creative figure in his life. It has been acknowledged. And I would have loved to have seen her get some acknowledgement on that night. And so, what do you think I did? I actually went up to Noah Fosse at the end of the show. I told him that he was great and how much I love Fosse. and that I have a dance podcast, which I have to admit I was a little bit self-conscious to say because it's like I'm not there to like talk about what I'm doing or my brand or whatever. But I mentioned that I did an episode on Joe McCracken, and I just wanted to say that and see what his reaction was. And he went, yeah. And then I said, yeah, I mean, she played such a huge role in Fosse's life. Here's me telling his grandson. And then he said something I'm not going to say because I don't know if he meant for it to be public, but bottom line is he discovered something on Fosse that no one knew existed. And he was thinking about ways to put it out into the world. I'll just leave that there. But I had to say my piece on Joe McCracken. Oh, what was also really magical about it was that a lot of people like Hugh Jackman, Goldie Hawn, Ben Vereen were not there in person, but they gave these video tributes, and everybody talked about how dance was everything for them. Like if they had a dance background, they defined it as the reason they are where they are. Like it's the most important element of their life. And that says so much. And that leads me into Shirley MacLaine. So Shirley MacLaine receives her Lifetime Achievement Award and she walks out, and it may have been the most thunderous ovation of the night. I mean, she doesn't make public appearances really anymore. She's 91, I think. And just having her come out on stage escorted by Baryshnikov. And there I am right in the first row. I'm just like, oh my God. And it was just a really lovely moment, very goosebump inducing. And she gave the most lovely speech. And this may have been, for me, the most impactful, emotional, meaningful moment because, again, it's in line with what others like Goldie Hawn were saying in their video stuff about dance and everything. Shirley MacLaine said, and I quote, "My mother took me to dancing class when I was 3 because I had weak ankles and I fell in love with it. But here's what it also included: discipline, love of music, a sense of cooperation with other people, being on time. And from that day on, I went to class every day until in my 60s. I would have to say that dance, what I've learned being part of it, is why I'm still here." It was just such a big deal. It just felt big. There was an extraordinary dance for Twitch that I think Twitch made famous on So You Think You Can Dance. I don't want to get that wrong, but I think so. So it was Comfort, Cyrus, and Fiction. And they did this just jaw-dropping number. I mean, it was just mesmerizing. These gifted dancers, his mother and brother came out to accept, and it was a really beautiful moment. That's another thing I loved about the night. You had Fosse, you had Jerome Robbins, West Side Story, you had Twitch, the hip hop, the street style, all of it interspersed. What dance is, which is many languages. It was just really incredible to experience. Oh my God, the Martha Graham dancers. Oh my God, the Martha Graham Company. What? That was just on another level. It was just amazing. I was so close to the stage that I could literally smell the dancers. It felt like I was in dance class. It felt like dance class. Like I was in the rehearsal studio was how close I was. Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but you have those intrusive thoughts sometimes. Like this was my brain there in some moments. What if I just got on the stage right now? What if I just jumped into this dance? What would happen? I feel like doing some Fosse. I want to do a little bit of West Side Story. Can I do that? Obviously, those are intrusive thoughts, and I would never succumb to them. I would never acquiesce to them. And yet, they were there at some moments. I was like, I want to dance too. Oh, and Channing Tatum, he gave some of the introduction for Twitch, and he was very emotional, and he was really crying through it. And it was very beautiful to see. I'm telling you, every moment it was like, oh my God, so-and-so is here, so-and-so is here. And then, oh my gosh, Kenny Ortega. Cynthia Rhodes was part of the tribute to Kenny Ortega. Cynthia Rhodes. I did an episode on her, and you can't find her. There has been no video of her, no footage of her for a very long time. Trust me, I did the work, and there she was, talking about Kenny Ortega, looking beautiful. And I was like, Cynthia Rhodes? Oh my God. All right, if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see that I just put some light on. It was getting dark, and this took longer than I thought, but also the sun does set a lot earlier these days, doesn't it? Misty Copeland was not there in person. She said she had an injury and that she said something like, In the past, she would often sort of ignore what her body is telling her, but this time she's going to be a good person and just rest. And so she couldn't be there, but gave a very lovely acceptance speech. She was very, very humbled by the fact that she was included in this list of dancers who she grew up, idolizing. Twyla Tharp, I mean, again, that's one of those names you hear growing up. It's just sort of like, is that a real person? It's so larger than life-like sounding. And I've listened to her books too. There's like 2 or 3 books of hers that I've actually listened to because she has these amazing books. So, and her voice is so specific. And just to hear her speak, much less, see her, I don't know, was also super cool. So she accepted her award, and then she also, I believe, gave the intro on Jerome Robbins because she had a very special relationship with him and talked about how they were very good friends, and she doesn't believe in working with friends. She thinks it's never really a good experience because in the end, you're no longer friends. But he kept pushing her, and it turns out it was a good experience and that they were still friends after. And anyway, it was just an amazing night. It was very electrifying to be in that room with all these people and to see some dancers I do know personally and choreographers I know personally, to feel not entirely like a fish out of water, to feel like I am contributing something too in the dance world that is worthy of note, that is of value, and I'm very, very proud of it. And it felt just really lovely just to be in the presence of all these giants. And I look forward to more amazing dance experiences in the future that are these events. I went to, by the way, I did not mention this on YouTube or in my podcast either, but I was at the World Choreography Awards something like a month ago. And that was also this just amazing night. So I am kind of slowly like inching my way into these dance event experiences, which I don't take for granted. It feels like there is a purpose here, that I maybe don't even know quite yet, but I'm just kind of following it. Wherever it leads me, that's where I'll be. And again, most importantly, my own dance journey and what I want to do with serving and inspiring others through my own dancing. That story has yet to be completely told, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. So if you are watching this or listening, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being on this journey with me, whether you are a fan of my own dance story or my rest of the story on Dance Legends, whatever it is, I take none of it for granted. I just appreciate your presence and your support. And speaking of that, again, I will be including a link below if you want to support maybe in a different way. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to comment. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. And I will see you next time.